welcome to a new video on the channel. Today we are going to look at what prompts I will pull for April from the TBR jar. I have attempted to try and do a different setup this time around for it. I am going to pull them without my best friend as well, so hopefully this video will be a bit more cohesive. Same rules apply every month. I will pull 6 prompts from the jar. If I pull any specific ones that I did last month, I'm okay to draw again. If I don't complete all 6 prompts in the month, then for punishment I have to draw an extra prompt in the following month. That is pretty much it. Let's go to drawing out the first prompt. I'm most likely going to get the same things if I don't shape this up really good. Okay. Contemporary. Okay, so the first pull I got was contemporary, and I've decided to read Ugly Love. Last month I had poll pick and I chose to use 2 Colleen Hoover books for that. This was the one that didn't win, so I'm going to read it over April and I'm really looking forward to it. I have unfortunately read November 9, and if you're not aware, that actually gives away what happens with this couple a little bit in that book, and I didn't know until I was reading it that they were in the same world, so that kind of gave away some of it, but I'm still really looking forward to it. I believe that this is one of most people who have read Colleen Hoover's favourite book. I hear that the romance between them is quite toxic at times, but there's a huge twist and then it makes a whole lot of sense, and knowing Colleen Hoover and her twists, I'm really looking forward to this one. Myth, lore, legend, or fairy. Okay, so next we have myth, lore, legend, and fairy tale, and this was actually a book that I put down for last month's TBR jar prompts for retelling. In this month I'm going to use it instead because last month I was lucky enough to receive an art copy of The Dragon's Promise and I hadn't read 𝓤𝓮𝓻𝓮 𝓬𝓮, so I quickly changed things around and read that one instead for my retelling. So I've decided to put it into this month because I really do want to read this book. So it seems like another really powerful retelling. It's about the Chinese legend of the moon goddess 𝓤𝓮, and it's just about finding her way through the celestial kingdom, and just sounds really, really interesting. Her mother was exiled, and so she is going to try and fight her way through. She's been very accustomed to living a life alone, and now she is going to be reaching out for her magic and everything like that, I believe. So I'm really looking forward to this one a lot, as I said, and I cannot wait to read this one, and I'm definitely sticking to it this month. Like, I think that I might even read this one first in April just to make sure that it's done. A retelling. I did pull that last month, but it's... Here's another book that was on my TBR last month. It wasn't a prompt, it was just one that I wanted to read and I didn't get to it again. I chose to put this into April because when I pulled out a retelling, I had the option of a few books and I thought, you know what, this is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet set in the 1930s in Shanghai, or is it 20s, sorry, 1920s I believe, in Shanghai. I really, really want to read this book. I brought it on a whim. I wasn't actually going to read it because I didn't think it was going to be up my alley, but some fan art really sold me on it, so I really want to read this book. I've been putting it off way too long, and a friend of mine read it recently and enjoyed it, so we have similar tastes, so I'm really looking forward to picking this one up over April. Title or name. The sun is not helping this one because it has gilded cover with the gold on the front, but I want to read this book so badly. It is The Queen of Nothing, and this is for title and names. I really have been putting this one off. I think I read The Wicked King last year, or in January. I'm not too sure, I can't remember. I think it was last year. And I loved it so much. It was an easy 5-star read for me, and I didn't want to finish the series. That's just as simple as it is. That's why it's taken me so long. I've been holding out because this series owns my heart and I just don't want it to end. But everything does have to come to an end, and I really want to read this. So this is book 3 in the Folk of the Air series, and we're sitting in a position where Jude and Carden are now separated, and there's still a whole bunch of political machinations having to go on. I don't want to give too much away if you haven't read this series, but it is so good, and I'm assuming it's still going to be really dark and take us on a really winding journey before she can get back to where she belongs, which is in Ferry with Carden, hopefully. I'm really looking forward to finishing it, even though I really don't want to, like I said. I just want it to keep going forever and ever, because Carden is one of my absolute favourite fae, and I just love this world so much. Romance. Okay, so next up is romance, and I've chosen to read Beach Read by Emily Henry. I absolutely loved You and Me on Vacation, and I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. This is an Opposites Attract writer's novel, so I believe that, as it says on the cover, 2 writers, 1 holiday, and a rom-com waiting to happen. They're very much so opposites. Augustus writes literary fiction, and January writes romance. So already they're very different that way, and I'm assuming that they're going to butt heads a lot, and it's going to be wonderful banter. If there is one person out there who can write incredible banter in a romance novel, it is Emily Henry, and I'm so excited to read this one. I am even more excited for book lovers, but until that one comes out, I decided that I would pick this one up because it finally came in store, and my friend picked it up for me because she knows how much I love Emily Henry's books so far. So yes, very excited to get to this one this month. Last one. Please be a good one. Fantasy. I did that last month, so I think I'm going to draw another one. Cute. And the final prompt is Hook, Line and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. Ironically, for cute cover, I believe I did its first book in the series, and so I just decided that I would do it again. I really loved It Happened One Summer. I gave it 5 stars. This is Hannah's story with Fox, who are both characters in the first book. Hannah is really into music, and Fox is, I believe, a skipper. He works with Brendan on the boats, which is the first main character, and Hannah is Piper's sister, who we meet in the first book. Really liked them as characters in the first book, and the epilogue or bonus chapter in the first book gave away a little bit about Fox and Hannah and made me so excited. And everyone that I know who has read this already loves it 10 times more than they loved It Happened One Summer. So I am hooked, pun intended, to get this one done this month, because I have already waited too long. I wanted to get it over March done, but didn't have enough time. So that is all the books on my TBR prompt list. So moving on with the rest of the TBR, if you didn't follow my last video, I tend to do 10 books on a TBR list. That sort of gives me some guidance of what I want to read each month, and the last 4 that I tend to pick are either buddy reads that I've already planned, or just books that I want to pick up. And this is one that I want to get through because I am already through the first 2 books in the Blood and Ash series, and when I finished A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire last month, I really wanted to pick this up straight away, but I had too many books that I had to get through instead, and I've been holding out. So I really want to continue on with this series since The War of Two Queens is out already, and I want to make sure that I've got the whole series done before the second prequel series book comes out in this world. And I don't know, I just seem to be putting it off reading this series. I was planning on reading 1 book each month. I think I've done that so far. No, I missed a month. But I really want to try and get this done before June, just because there are a lot of books coming out later on this year and I need to be on top of my game. There are so many books that will be coming out in September alone, and I believe from what Jennifer L. 𝓤𝓮 said on her Facebook group was that the second prequel in this world will be released in the second half of the year, which will be probably October, knowing my luck. And so hopefully I will have enough time to just pick it up right away. That's the goal. That's why I want to get through these. This book is following on from where we left off in book 2. If you haven't read the series, I really do recommend looking into the synopsis and some reviews on it. Both my reviews for the first books are on Goodreads. I'll link them below. So I don't really want to go into too much about this book. It's so complex to talk about. But basically, the main character, Poppy, she was once chosen as the maiden. She was under the belief that she was going to be for the greater good of all people around her, and she was kidnapped by her guard, Hawk, who actually turns out to be someone else. I'm not going to give that away. And yeah, finds out that the world that she knew and lived in completely is not what she actually lives in. So there's a whole new world behind what she learns and a whole lot of stuff that she went through and takes on board, and it's just too much to go into in this video. I really did enjoy book 2, and I am looking forward to picking up this book over April. So The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni is the second book in the Prison Healer series, and the third book comes out in May, so it makes sense that I get this done over April. I really want to be up to date by the time the Blood Traitor comes out, because I really have enjoyed the first book. It was so different from what I was expecting it to be, and I just want to continue on. So this follows Kiva. She was in a prison for the entirety of book 1, and this will be following her after her escape. I don't really want to go into too much about it, but in the first book she had to face 4 different trials, elemental trials, to save her life, and hopefully this saved the life of the person that she stepped in to do the trials for, and a whole bunch of stuff happens. It's such a good series. Like I said, very dark, not something that I normally read, but I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to continue on with The Gilded Cage. So in February I read Spin the Dawn, which is the first book in this series, The Blood of Stars, and I absolutely loved it so much. It's one of my favourite books this year, and I've been dying to read Unravel the Dusk for so long now, but over March I just had so many books that I picked up for arcs or for other projects that I didn't find a place to fit this in. I really wanted to read it, but in between all the books that I was promised to be reading or doing at that time, I just read romances. They're just way easier for me to consume than fantasy books. So I wanted to hold out and read this when I was really ready for it, and I am so ready to read this book. This follows on from where we left in Spin the Dawn, and it's about Maya, who went to the palace, the Emperor's palace, to be the master tailor instead of her brother. Actually, her father was the master tailor from their family, but tragedy has struck their family through many unfortunate situations, and she went instead, and it's just so good. The magic that's in this world is unbelievable. Elizabeth Lim has an uncanny ability to make things that sound fairy tale but also just so exciting and cinematic, almost in your head. I loved every moment of the second half of Spin the Dawn. When you get into the journey, is A+. Loved it so much. Loved the characters. Edan, who is an enchanter, is absolutely amazing. Love him so much. He's totally a book boyfriend now. So I really want to pick this one up because it left it a little bit of a cliffhanger. Not entirely. It does round up well, gives you what you believe will be to come, a little hint of it, but still kind of a cliffhanger. Didn't really know what was going to happen next, and I'm so excited to pick this one up. Last but definitely not least is A Heart So Fierce and Broken. It is the second book in the Curse Breakers series by Bridget Kemmermere. I read the first book with the International Read-Along. It was something that I didn't plan to do over March, but when they announced it, Bloomsbury announced it, I picked it up immediately since I had all three on my shelf. They are trying to get through the whole Cursebreaker series before her new series, Forging of the Silver... I can't remember the title. I will put it on the screen right now. But basically that book's coming out in May, I think. Is that? Yeah, May. And so we've got to get through this book and A Thou So Bold and Deadly by then, and they're doing international read-alongs. This will again be one that I join in with. I failed on the read-along. I attempted to read it at the pace that they are setting it out for. I ended up reading it within 5 days. I just couldn't stop and put it down after the 5th day of reading it at 6 chapters each day. It was just too much. I really wanted to know what happened. This world was set up through a Beauty and the Beast type curse, and this book seems to be switching between Grey, who was one of the main characters in the first book, and 𝓤𝓲𝓬𝓬, who I'm assuming we will get introduced to very quickly when this book starts. And I'm very excited to see where this goes. It left in quite a open-ended way. It wasn't a cliffhanger so much as some of the other books that I've read recently and need to pick up the next book in, but it definitely left room for what's happening next. I have read the synopsis and a little bit of the plot summary on fandom, so I do know a little bit of what's going to happen, but I'm not going to share it in this video. Let me know if you would like to see more in-depth videos about the series that I'm reading at the moment. If you'd like me to talk about them, I would totally do that. But this is book 10 on my TBR this month, and I am super excited to continue on with this series. Bridget Khememia is one of my favourite authors at the moment. I loved Defy the Night. I cannot wait for Defend the Dawn later this year. Again, one of those books that are coming way too late in September, and I'm going to try and have everything sorted so I can get to it right away as soon as I have it in my hands. I'm really anticipating how this one will go and set up the final book in the series. I do believe one of the characters that's in this book is one of the main characters in the next series, because it's set 4 years after this world ends. So I'm super excited to meet that person in this book as well. So that is my TBR for April. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Let me know if you have read any of these books, which ones do you recommend most to other people, and have a great day. Bye everyone.